Hello, boys and girls. So I just got back from seeing Dunkirk, which is an amazing movie. It's one of those rare movies that you kind of know is going to stay with you for a while longer. It's if you haven't seen it, it's basically about one of the first wars in World War II, in which the English and the French invaded, I think, France or Belgium, and basically got their asses handed to them. And so this movie picks up with all of the French and English soldiers stuck on the beach trying to get home, with the vastly superior German army surrounding them. And spoiler alert, the British actually send a bunch of civilian boats across the channel to pick up all the men and then bring them back home. It's one of those interesting moments in history because it's basically a military failure. And even Churchill even said so when he made a speech after the event. Was this basically just a military failure? The English and the French were totally unprepared for the shitstorm that the Germans were going to send their way, and they lost. And basically, people were already talking about how the war was going to be lost and that sort of thing. But then Churchill turned it around and made it this moment of perseverance in which we will not give up no matter what. And that is basically what the whole movie is about, is people meeting adversity, uncompromising adversity, and not falling prey to it. None of these people are perfect. There are cowards, there are heroes, there are people who are survivors at all costs, there are people who are kind of smart, and there are some people who are kind of incompetent. So there are no perfect people. This is not really a one of those old World War II movies where John Wayne charges, the mountains and shoots everybody and everything's fine. This is very much a very real story about real people surviving however they can. And I think one of the reasons why I've read some criticisms of social justice warriors out there, and they're mainly talking about the diversity problem. And I don't think that's really their issue. I don't think they really know what their issue is. That their main issue, I think, is really that this is a movie about empowerment. People have power to survive. They have power to make decisions. They have power to persevere. Many times, many of these characters could have given up at any point. They could have either just given up and died, or they could have just turned around and gone home. And they did not have to continue on at all costs. But they decided to stick to it. And most of the people who I see from the social justice side, and I see this in my profession a lot, is that they want to endow victimhood upon people because it feels good. I think there's a little bit more of a nefarious plot behind it too, so to speak, because, victims are helpless. Victims can't do for themselves. Victims need to be saved, and they need someone else to come and save them. I hate victimhood. I will not ascribe victimhood to any of my clients. I don't really care how bad how much they've suffered. No matter who they are, no matter what they've suffered, no matter what they've gone through, they can do something with their lives. They can make their position better. Because if they're sitting around waiting for somebody, including myself as a counselor, if they're waiting for someone to come and save them, then they'll never be able to do for themselves. And a movie like Dunkirk shows that people can do for themselves. They can make hard decisions that aren't comfortable for them. Even the whole premise of the events of Dunkirk. Can you imagine that happening today? Can you imagine President Donald Trump gets on TV and he says, I don't know, for whatever reason, he needs every person with a truck, an SUV, or RV to drive to California to pick up a whole bunch of people that are stuck there and bring them to safety. And just asking people to just go do it. Even though those people might die. Even though those people's property might be destroyed along the way. that they will just go and save a bunch of people that they don't know because it's just the right thing to do. I personally can't imagine anything like that happening today, especially in today's political climate, with the mainstream media constantly telling us that Trump is the next Hitler, that he's racist, he's homophobic, he hates everybody, um, and we just have a very inherently selfish society right now. We don't really think about other people. We don't really have to think about other people. So we don't. We sit around and we'll wait for somebody else to come along and save us. In a way, we have allowed ourselves to be made victims. And so my message to you, and that I think that I got from Dunkirk, is you're not a victim. And no matter how bad things are, you can do something. You can make your life a little better. You can push through it. You know, movies like Dunkirk also help reinforce the the scale of adversity that people can overcome. You know, we all have problems going on in our lives. We all worry about how we're going to pay the bills, or just getting things done, or just day to day life can just be kind of grinding down. Maybe you break up with a girlfriend, maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, maybe not passing a class. You know, there's piles of reasons why we face adversity, and we all face adversity. But when you're in the moment, it seems super overwhelming. It seems like that's the biggest and worst thing that maybe has ever happened to your entire life. And what we need is movies like Dunkirk to point out, no one's shooting at you. You know, you're not sitting on a beach waiting to either drown or starve or have the Nazis bomb you out of existence. You probably got a lot more resources than maybe you can recognize in that moment. Pick something that works. Find that thing that works and focus on that and use that as your tool. Because maybe that's the only tool you've got. Even though if it's the only tool you got, and if it's not exactly the right tool, that might be the thing that makes a little bit of a difference that will get you to the next thing, the next thing. And that's what happened with one of the characters in Dunkirk, as we start off by watching him trying to get away, to try and survive, and he just kind of, throughout the entire movie, tries to survive and it fails, and so he tries to survive again and again, it fails, and he tries again, he just keeps going and going. Each time he meets some sort of adversity, he just kind of looks for the next opportunity to survive. And then, of course, then there's the whole sacrificing oneself for others, which is really hard today because at the same time we want to help people, but at the same time we also don't want to enable people. Just because someone says they're a victim and they desperately need help doesn't mean that you need to drop everything to go save them. But at the same time, when they're in the metaphorical equivalent of being stuck on a beach waiting for the Nazis to blow them up, then maybe, that's when you drop everything and you get in that RV and you drive across country. Maybe don't really like Trump, but you decide, I'm not going to let other people starve to death and die while I'm sitting here doing nothing. So anyway, my advice to you is to go see Dunkirk if you haven't seen it already. It's a great movie. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. He's one of my favorite directors. And just kind of remember that this sort of thinking, this sort of living, pushes against the narrative of the social justice warriors, that you are weak and helpless and that you need someone to save you. Because you probably can save yourself. And you can tell the social justice warriors to go, get in their hug box and their safe space and let them sort out for themselves. But anyway, I will see you next time. Bye.